Is this Nigel again?
I'm sorry?
Is this Nigel again?
Oh, with some British accent?
Nigel
coming
from
out there?
yesterday.
Oh!
Well, good to see you again, Nigel.
I'm glad you didn't make me fly away.
Well,
you know, I wanted to stay in the old States a little bit longer.
The Joey Mickey Pro Football Show is thrilled just to have fans in England, Europe, around the world, anywhere.
Oh, we love it that, you know, we can see American football because, you know, as you know, we have a long standing tradition of what you chaps call soccer.
Right.
And, you know, some of us even down under and in some other parts of the world were really crazy about the old rugby.
Yes.
And you guys put
I've heard.
pads on like a bunch of old weenie old nurses.
You try and get out there on the field with these guys that are trying to tear your head off. 250 pounds of solid muscle, and 6'2", moving at 17.8 meganauts per hour. You wish you had pads on too.
Mega knots.
See?
Like sailing.
Well, don't you British use another measurement system? It's like metric or something. You have meters and
The rest of the world uses metric.
funny things.
Who's the minority here?
Why don't you use inches and feet and yards and be normal?
Because we're not like you stateside blokes. We have to be special. We're the United States. We're the leaders of the United Nations. If somebody says something in the United Nations and we don't like it, we immediately say, we're going to take a break. And when we return, everybody from all the other nations that voted the other way have a smile on their face and they say, we changed our minds. We changed our minds. It's no different in any other avenue.
Are you saying that most of the countries in the world use metrics?
They do. It's a known fact.
Well, just because everybody's making a mistake, it's still a mistake.
I'm just letting you know, mate.
Well, all right, but I remember like back in the 70s, there was a brief movement or concept in the United States of switching over to the metric system, right? Our producer remembers. And what happened? No, we rejected it. Why? Because it's too complicated.
Because you can't do
And
math.
why make the change anyway?
You can't do math.
Of course we can do
Look
math.
at your studies.
12 inches
Look
in
at
a
your
foot,
marks.
3 feet in a yard, 5,280 feet in a mile. How kind of hard? It's easy.
Well, I've talked to you for a while, and you're not.
You're the guys who can't do math.
You're above the average, Marcus. You're above the average. But I'm telling you, mate,
Well,
the majority of Americans. I mean, I've seen them. I used to work as a bellhop in one of the hotels downtown London, and we'd have the Americans coming in there all the time, right? And they'd say to me, "How do I get to this hotel? And how do I get to this restaurant?"
Yeah.
And I would tell them, it's just a bloody half liter this way,
a half liter down the block, yeah.
Exactly. And what
And
that
you
means,
wonder why they were confused.
well, what that means, that's what makes it so unique, because I'll tell you what that means. In England, that means when you're sloshed, you know.
Oh, I see it. On a half pint of liquor, you could figure it out, right?
You got it.
Oh, yeah,
You
all
know,
right.
I'm making you an honorary member of England.
Thank you. I'll be able to keep the metric system and the normal system of counting and measuring clear in my mind at the same time. It sounds to me like what you were doing was, since they weren't going to stay at your hotel, they were going to go to another hotel, you try to get them lost anyway, right?
What kind of loyalty is that?
None.
I charge them extra for the Foster and Adams myself. Because I mean,
charge them anything for your advice and your directions?
no, but I look at them really hard. Is what I used to do. If you're asking me point blank,
I
would look at them really hard, and whoever that gentleman or whoever that lady was, I would say to them, "Is there anything else?" And they would say no.
Well, it's because they assumed that you weren't lying about the directions.
And then if they didn't put out a pound or a shilling or something like that, I would say again, "Is there anything else?" Mark, I would stay in there. Mickey, I'd stay in their bloody faces all the way down the lawn. Is there anything else? Is there anything else? And then finally, sometimes the old light bulb would go off, and they'd be like, "Oh yeah, we're in England." Usually, the wives would knock them a lot about the chin or the arm or shoulder or something like that, and be like, "You stingy, give him something," you know.
But all right. But the concept is, you gave them wrong advice before you realized they weren't going to tip you. Is that it?
No, what you take me for?
Okay. One thing happened
No,
before the other. They
that's
didn't
not,
happen
that's
at the
not
same
always
time.
the case. I
They
said
didn't?
only sometimes.
Oh, you mean you occasionally gave them proper directions?
Well, yeah, I mean, if that's my whole point. If they don't know what a meter is, and when in Rome, right? Do you guys have that saying? When in Rome,
Do as the Romans.
they've been around a lot longer than America.
So?
I think they might know something about what they're doing when they're civilized and when they're living a life.
Don't tell me the Romans used metrics too.
I'm not gonna. They measured by stones, mate. Well, I don't know what they measured by, but no, they didn't have meters back then.
I'll give you a sneak preview. Here's a history lesson, Joey, and this even predates the Romans. Have you ever heard of a marathon?
The marathon man?
Yeah, no, the race, the marathon.
Yeah, Dustin Hoffman?
No, the race,
Let me
the
ride the
marathon.
bike, let me...
Obviously you haven't. Let me tell you what it is. It's a race. It's from one city to another city in ancient Greece called marathon. Hence the name marathon. How far was the marathon? It was 26.4 miles. Joey, miles. It was not kilometers or anything British and silly and metric like that.
Did they refer to it? I think Nigel's right.
What?
We're the ones that need to, sometime in our history, I mean, nobody likes to have to learn a new system or a new language. I mean, they're kind of one and the same. That it's a good analogy. But at some point in the United States, we're going to have to give in and say, you know, if we teach our kids the metric system, liters and meters and minis and mos, then they're going to be able to go outside the world and they'll already have a reference point.
Go outside the world. Listen, the Greeks used miles. Americans use miles. We've always used miles. We already rejected the metric system once. I don't see any benefit to it. And I don't see any reason that we have to go try and change over. It's just going to confuse people.
Well, I'd have to do research on this, but you know, as soon as you tell me that, I think to myself, Joey, yeah, okay. What do you think about this? Why are the Greeks using miles? Why are they using the standard, as they call it, as we use, system of measurement? And immediately something comes back to me, and it ends up down on my CPU, and it comes out my mouth, and it says compute, and I read my tongue, and my tongue says, because they're trying to kiss up to us. Why else would the Greeks? Why else would the people in Greece?
Who's kissing up to who?
Okay, you got this big eye. You have this continent that's actually not one of the larger continents. All the countries are pretty small, as you know.
Europe,
especially compared to America. Most Americans don't get that. Europe is what I'm referring to.
Yes.
And you have France, and you have Italy, and you have Nigel over there in England, and you have Scotland, and you have that whole UK thing. And then you've got the Eastern, and you got all these countries that I'm mentioning, Switzerland and Germany, and they're all using metric. You know, they're all there's 1 liter, and the other with the Italians are down there going just 1 liter, man, just 1 liter. And Greece is like right in the middle of that whole kabobble.
Well, they're kind
and
of
they're going to use the same system as we are. How? What?
They're kind of southeastern Europe.
They've been in the ocean too long. They got sand in their ears.
That's a fine thing coming from a British guy.
Every crevice is full of...
How can you accuse anybody from being in the ocean too long when you're...
You want to talk to Nigel about this?
Yeah.
All right, no problem. I'll go get it.
Please. Can you imagine the insanity of it all? A British guy telling me that the Greeks have been in the ocean too long. Oh, hi, Nigel.
Hello.